Hello and welcome. We are on page number 20 of chapter number 6. Now we have to start this subsection subrule, for that matter subrule or subsection 6. So we are in section number 17 and subsection number 6. So what does section 16 or section 17 subsection 6 state? It states that the government may prescribe the manner in which the credit referred to in subsection 1 and section 2 may be attributed. So, the government has the power to prescribe the manner in which the credit is to be apportioned. And we have an explanation. For the purpose of this chapter and chapter 6, the expression plant and machinery, the expression plant and machinery means apparatus, equipment, machinery fixed to earth by foundation or structural support that are used for making outward supply of goods or service or both, and includes such a foundation and structural supports but excludes land, building or other civil structure, telecommunication towers and pipelines laid outside the factory premises. So these items can't be constituted as plant and machinery, but for that the apparatus, equipment and machinery which are fixed to the earth or a foundation or a structural support, and that plant and machinery is used for outward supply of goods or services or both, and includes such a foundation and structure also. The cost incurred for the foundation and structure and support will also be included in the value of the plant and machinery. Next comes rule number 38. Next comes rule number 38. We are into our CGST rules. These rules are in relation to input tax credit. The section dealt with is section 17. Now, what does this rule number 38 state? This rule number 38 states that actually the 16th section is with regard to input tax credit, 17 will be with regard to the apportionment and blocked credits. Now in that, now we have completed section number 17. Now we are going into the rules of CGST rules which relate to the input tax credit. Claim of credit by banking company or a financial institution. In rule number 17, we already understood that the banking company or financial institutions including NBFC have the option, instead of taking the credit as per section 17 subsection 2, what they can do is they can avail 50% of eligible input credit. However, there are exceptions to that we will understand in the rules also. So these banking company or financial institution or non-banking finance company engage in the supply of services by way of accepting deposits or extending loans or advances that choose not to comply with the 17 subsection 2, they can, in accordance with the option, be permitted under subsection 4 of that section in the following procedure. So instead of going into section 17 subsection 2, they can choose the option provided in 17.4. So accordingly, what they have to do, the said company shall not avail the credit of the tax paid on input services that are used for non-business purpose. They should not take it at all. Point number 1. The credit attributable to the supplies specified in 17.5. In 17.5, whatever credit is being specified should not be taken. That is blocked credit. So they should not take the tax on inputs and input services that are used for non-business purpose, They should not take the credit as prescribed in 17.5, that is blocked credit. Now, the said company or institution shall avail the credit of tax on inputs and input services referred to in 1714 and not covered in class A. Means you take the total input, thereafter from that input you eliminate this and you eliminate this. Then there will be a balance credit. On this balance credit, 50% of the input shall be admissible as the ITC and they shall be taken in form number GSTR2. We already understood that GSTR2 is not yet made applicable. The amount referred to in B and C shall be subjected to the provisions of section 41, 42, 43 and be credited to the electronic credit ledger of the company or the institution. Okay. Now what they have to do? They have to, the said company or the institution shall avail the credit of tax on inputs and input services referred to in the second proviso to subsection 17 subsection 14. Means what is that? Distinct persons credit. Distinct persons credit. This is the second proviso. The restriction of 50% shall not apply to the tax paid on supplies made by one registered person to another registered person having the same PAN number. So Vijayawada branch providing a supply to Hyderabad branch. Then Hyderabad branch, here there may be GST charged. This can be taken in full. This can be taken in full. So coming to the rules part, what it has been said is you should not take non-business and you should not take blocked. That is point number 1. What is point number 2? You take full amount of the amount referred to in second proviso to clause A of 17.4, that is distinct persons credit. You take it in full. Okay. So what are all the remaining amount is there, in that you take only 50%. So total is 100, out of which the blocked is the first non-business is 5, take it out, 95. Blocked is 10, take it out. How much is remaining? 85. In this 85, it is between distinct persons to distinct person is 40. You will take the entire 40. Now what is the balance here? 45. In it 50% is 22.5. So 62.5 you have to take it as credit. Okay. However, this 62.5, this 62.5 is subject to the provisions contained in 41, 42 and 43 of the Act. We will refer to what do you mean by what is provided in 41, 42, 43 at a later point of our discussion. Manner of determination of input tax rate in respect of inputs or input services and reversal thereof. Now, how to determine the input tax credit in respect of inputs and or input services and reversal thereof? This is rule number 42. Rule number 42. Friends, whatever provided in this 22nd page, rule number 42 subsection 1 or subclause 1, thereafter you have many points in that. That is up to M point. Thereafter you have sub rule number 2 to that. And so this is rule number 42. It is given in page number 42, page number 40. Sorry. It is given in page number 22, page number 23 and page number 24. After that we will get rule number 43. So The rule number 42 per se is given in 3 pages. The rule number 42 is given in 3 pages. Friends, what I advise is, first of all, we will go to the analysis part in respect of this rule, because if we go through this rule number 42 per se, it will be very difficult for us to understand. So what we will do is, we will read the rule here, then go to the analysis part, and we shall read it and understand it in a combined fashion. Okay. The input tax credit in respect of inputs or input services which attract the provisions of subsection 1 or subsection 2 means you are using partly for business and partly for non-business This is first category. Now what is the second category? You are using the inputs and input services partly for exempt goods or services, partly for taxable. Now here exempt includes, here taxable includes zero rated also. Here taxable includes zero rated also. So in these two situations you have to apportion the credit. In these two situations you have to apportion the credit. When if you are using partly for business and partly for non-business, or partly for exempt and partly for taxable includes zero rated, then the question of apportionment arises. Now whenever the question of apportionment arises, you should refer to rule number 42. What does it say? The total input tax involved on inputs and input services in a tax period be denoted as a T. So generally what is a tax period? A tax period is a month. Okay. So in that total input you take it as a T. The amount of input tax out of T attributable to inputs and input services intended to be used exclusively for other than business be denoted as T1. So if the total input is 1000, now this is called as T. From that what you have to do? You have to delete T1. What is T1? These inputs are to be used exclusively for purposes other than business. So you have to delete that. So the balance remaining is 950. From that you have to reduce T2 also. What is T2? Attributable to inputs, input services intended to be used exclusively for exempt supplies. This is 100. Eliminate that also. Next, the amount of input tax out of T in respect of inputs and input services on which credit is not available, blocked credits. From that you reduce T3. T3 is blocked credit. It is 150. Now the remaining is 700. Okay. The amount of input tax credit to the electronic credit ledger of the registered person is to be denoted as C1 and calculated as C1 is equal to T, that is 1000, minus T1, that is non-business use, T2 wholly exempt, and T3 blocked credits. This 700 is to be taken to the electronic credit ledger. This 700 is to be taken to the electronic credit ledger. and we are denoting this as C1. This is nothing but C1. The amount of input tax credit attributable to inputs and input services intended to be used exclusively for effecting supplies other than exempt but zero rated be denoted as T4. As T4 means this is being exclusively utilized for effecting this is exclusively intended to be utilized for effecting supplies other than exempt but zero rated means this credit you are going to get it entirely. So T4 you are getting entire credit, you are eligible. This is denoted by T4. So let us assume it to be 400. This 400 entire amount you will get. Now 300 is to be apportioned. 300 is to be apportioned because this is utilized both for exempt as well as taxable or exempt as well as personal. Okay. Now T4 is wholly and exclusively for taxable items including zero rated. So this 400 entire amount you will get, but a portion of 300 only you are going to get because this is the common credit which is going to be apportioned. Now T1, T2, T3, T4 shall be determined and declared by the registered person at invoice level in form 2 and at summary level in 3B. So what is T4? T1. T1 is total. T1 is non-business. T2 is wholly exempt. T3 is blocked credit. T4 is exclusively for affecting taxable supplies. Okay. So T1, T2, T3, T4 shall be determined and declared by the registered person at invoice level in GSTR2 and at summary level in form number 3B also. The input tax credit left over after attribution of input tax credit under F shall be called the common credit to be denoted as C2. So 300 is C2. 300 is C2. Now how do you get C2? C2 is equal to, what is C1? 700. C1 is, C2 is equal to C1 700 minus T4. T4 means exclusively used for taxable supplies, 400. So C2 is equal to 300. Now this is the common credit. This is the common credit. Now you have to apportion this. Now you have to apportion this. Now the amount of input tax credit attributable towards exempt supplies be denoted as D1. So D1 will be amount of, no, you are dividing this 300. Now D1 and D2. What is D1? D1 is this, from this 300 you are determining the amount of input credit which is used for providing outward exempt supplies. Now how you will determine this is equal to E by F into C2. C2 is nothing but this 300 only. Here we have seen C2 is equal to C1 minus T4. That is the common credit 300. This 300 only you have to apportion. So for apportioning this 300, what we are doing? we are determining the amount attributable to the exempt supplies D1 is equal to E by F into C2. C2 is 300. What is E? E is the aggregate value of exempt supplies during the tax period. So in exempt supplies, what are to be included, we have learned, like value of land in building, this reverse charge supplies, etc. Some have to be included. That we will understand at a later point. Already we have learned in this provision 16 as well as 17. But again, we will learn it in the analysis part. Now, what is the F? F is the total turnover in the state of the registered person during the tax period. We already learned the what is the definition of a total turnover in a state, right? So, D1 is the input tax credit attributable to the exempt supplies. How you will determine it? C2 means common credit to be apportioned into E divided by F. E means exempted turnover, F means total turnover in the state. Now this you have to take it for the tax period. This 300 is also for tax period. This 300 is also for tax period. Tax period means month. Tax period means month. Okay, provided that where the registered person does not have any turnover in the said tax period or the aforesaid information is not available, the value of E by F shall be calculated by taking the values E and F of the last tax period for which details are available previous to the month during which the said value of E and F is to be calculated. Now let us say this we need to apportion for the month of January 2020. Now for the month of January 2020 we are not having E and F. We are not having. Then what you have to take? You have to take the E and F of E and A. You have to take the E and F figures of December 19. If December 19 are also not available, go to November 19. If November 19 is also not available, go to October 19 figures. Okay. For the purpose of this class, it is hereby clarified that the aggregate value of exempt supplies and the total turnover shall exclude the amount of any duty or tax levied under entry number 84 and entry number 92A of list 1 of the 7th schedule of the Constitution and entry number 51 and entry number 54 of list 2 of the said schedule. Means nothing but excise duty, okay, be it central excise duty or state excise duty, next CST, next VAT. Those taxes should not be included while calculating the turnovers. While calculating the exempt turnover and total turnover, you exclude the CST, VAT, central excise, state excise. You exclude them. The amount of credit attributable to non-business purposes if common inputs and input services are used for partly for business and partly for non-business purpose be denoted as D2 and shall be equal to 5% of C2. So, if this common credit in it, there are also inputs which are used for non-business. Exclusive non-business we have deleted, but we are dealing with common inputs used for non-business purposes also. Means for partly for non-business and partly for business. That you have to denote it as a D2. That is D2 non-business. How much is non-business? D2 is equal to C2 into 5%, means 300 into 5%. That is, how much is 300 into 5%? 15. So 15 also you are not going to get. The remainder of the common credit shall be eligible as input credit attributable for the purpose of business and for affecting supplies other than exempt supplies, but including zero rate supply. So now let us say if we D1 is equal to E by F into C2, means you are carving out the in common from the common credit that credit which is attributable to exempt supplies. Now let us say by application of this formula we got it as let us say 100. Let us say 100. So how much still is remaining? 200 is remaining. From that 200 you should also reduce D2, means this is for non-business use. So 200 minus 15 is equal to 185. Now this 185, how did we get? From 300 we reduced exempted fellows, that we got it as 100. Now balance is 200. From that we reduced the non-business, that is 5% of 300 is 15. So the balance remaining is 185. This 185 plus exclusively for taxable and zero rated 400 plus 400. Now what we are going to get is 585 is the ITC for this month. Okay. C3 is equal to C2 minus D1 plus D2. So 185 is C3. How did we get C3? We got C3 by subtracting D1 and D2 from C2. You got C3, that is 185. Right? The amount of C3, D1, D2 shall be computed separately for input tax credit of CGST, SGST, UTGST, ITGST separately and declare in Form 3B or through Form GSTR from DRC 3, GST DRC 3. So the amount of C3, D1, D2. What is D1? D1 is the amount attributable to the exempt supplies. D2 is non-business use, and also C3. C3 is that portion of the common credit which is utilized for the purpose of providing output taxable supplies including zero rated supplies. So and declared in form number GSTR 3B or through form GST DRC 03. So if you could not have done it in GSTR 3B, you have to go for DRC 3. That you will understand in our later advanced concepts, be it in intermediate level or at a final level. Okay. So what are all the items to be declared? T1, T2, T3, T4 will have to be determined and declared in GSTR 2 and 3B. What is T total credit? What is T1? T1 is exclusively for non-business. T2 is exclusively for exempted. T3 is blocked credit. T4 is exclusively utilized for providing taxable supply, including zero rated. The balance remaining 300 is denoted by C2 and this credit is to be apportioned. This credit is to be apportioned. Now from that we first eliminated proportion relating to exempt. From that we eliminated proportion relating to non-business, and the balance credit is available as input tax. This plus inputs wholly relating to taxable supplies, total 585. This is for this tax period. This is for the tax period. Okay, next. The amount equal to aggregate of D1 and D2 shall be reversed by the registered person in form number GSTR 3B or through form number DRC 03, provided where the amount of input relating to inputs or input service used partly for the purpose other than business and partly for exempt supplies have been identified and segregated at invoice level, the same will be included in T1 and T2, and the remaining amount of credit shall be included in T4. So at invoice level itself you are able to identify, then take non-GST supplies to T1 and non-business supplies to T1 and wholly exempted supplies to T2, and you take exclusively used for making taxable supplies to T4 at the invoice level itself. D1 and D2 should be reversed in GSTR 3B, because in GSTR 3B what you have done is you have taken this is 700, this is 700. How we are getting this 700? By excluding 50, 100, 150. You have excluded it. So the remaining is 700. In that the exclusively for taxable is 400. So the amount to be apportioned is 300. Since you have taken this 300 also as input, the from this 300 the amount attributable to non-business and amount attributable to exempted should be reversed. If you take this 300, you have to reverse it in 3B, because you have taken this as input in 3B. Okay. The amount of tax credit credited to the electronic credit ledger will be denoted by C1. So 700 you have taken in your electronic credit ledger. This is 400 exclusively taxable. You take this. This is 300. From this 300 you have to eliminate D1 and D2. But you have taken this as credit. So now D1 and D2 is to be reversed. If you did not reverse it in 3B, you have to pay it through DRC3. Right? So what do you mean by 3B, DRC3, etc.? So you may learn it in your later chapters or at your final level. Okay. Now, the input tax credit determined under sub-rule 1 shall be calculated finally for the financial year before the due date for furnishing the return or the month of September following the end of the financial year to which such credit relates in the manner specified in the said sub-rule. So here you were doing for the 12 months tax period. For every month you are doing this. So for 1920 financial year, for April you have done, May you have done, June you have done, and so on. Now at the year end you have to do it yearly. By what time? Due date for filing September month return, September 2020 return. It will be October 20. So before October 20, 2020, what you have to do? You have to calculate the yearly amount. You have to calculate the yearly amount. Where the aggregate amounts calculated finally in respect of D1, D2. So you have to take 12 months D1. You have to take 12 months D2 also. You have to take 12 months D1. You have to take 12 months D2. Now you have to take yearly D1. You have to take yearly D2. Okay. Now what you have to do? Yearly D1 minus total of monthly D1s. You are getting a plus figure. You are getting a plus figure. Now you have to reverse this. If you are getting this as a minus figure, you have to take this. Okay, but you have to pay interest from April 1st, April 1, 2020 to date of payment. You have to pay interest. Okay, at the prescribed rate. So what he is saying, where the aggregate amount of calculated finally in respect of D1, D2 exceeds the aggregate of the amounts determined under sub-rule 1 in D1 and D2, such excess shall be reversed by the registered person in Form 3B or through DRC 3. So, yearly D1 is more than total monthly D1s, then again if you have to reverse, plus means reverse, minus means you can take the input credit. In the month not later than September following the end of the financial year which to such credit relates, and the said person shall be liable to pay interest on such excess amount at the specified rates from the period starting from the first day of April of the succeeding financial year till the date of payment. Or where the aggregate of the amounts determined under sub-rule D1, D2 exceeds the aggregate of the amount finally calculated, such excess amount can be claimed as a credit by the registered person in his return for the month not later than the month of September following the end of the financial year in which such credit. So September 2020. In September 2020 return, by latest by this return date you can take. Friends, this is rule number 42. Now what we will do is, instead of going into the rule number 43, we will go into the analysis part and finish off the analysis of rule number 42. I thought that while going through the provision itself or rule itself, we have discussed at length. But what we will do is, it will act as a revision. We will go to the analysis and complete the analysis part of this rule. And in the next session, we will come back to this rule number 43. So, here is the analysis part. Now, what does section 17 say? Section 17 says that you have to apportion the ITC in the situations, and also blocking of ITC is to be made in respect of certain situations. That is what section 17 say. Now what does 17(1) and 2 subsections say, read with rule number 42 and 43? If the goods are used for business as well as non-business, you have to apportion the credit. If the goods are used both for providing taxable as well as taxable including zero rated as well as exempted, then you have to make a apportionment. Now you can't take, if any of the two situations are there, you cannot take the full ITC and you can take only proportionate ITC. If goods are used for non-business partly and partly for business purpose, only ITC which is attributable to business purpose can alone be availed. If goods and services are partly for making exempted supplies including zero rated supplies and partly for taxable supplies, here zero rated is also taxable. Zero rated is treated at par with taxable service or taxable supply. Then only ITC attributable to taxable supplies and zero rated supplies is to be availed by the registered person. Now, ITC can be availed in respect of inward supplies for making zero rated supplies. Now, what are zero rated supplies? Exports and supplies to SEZ and unit and SEZ developer are zero rated supplies. Three supplies are zero rated. One is export, another one is to the unit of an SEZ, another one is developer of a SEZ. A registered person is in the business of manufacturing shoes. He gave 50 pairs of shoes for his friends free of cost. So the inputs tax credit which is attributable to this 50 pairs of shoes is for non-business purpose. Therefore, this is not available and has to be reversed. A manufacturer produces product X chargeable at 18%, Y chargeable at nil rate, and product Z which is exported without payment of tax under a bond. Now all the three products are manufactured from the common inputs and input services. So X is chargeable, Z is zero rated. So input tax credit attributable to the manufacture of X and Z is available, but as far as Y is concerned, not available. Next, methodology for apportionment of credit on inputs and input services, reversal thereof, rule number 42. Friends, just now we went through the, before we commence the analysis part, we went through the entire rule number 42. Okay. We have discussed at length while going through the content of the rule number 42 itself. But to have a better understanding of rule number 42, again we will go through the analysis part immediately, so that, and that too with the help of the examples. There we took one example, but again here also we will be going through some examples. Now, what will happen is, in many situations, the input tax involved in exempt non-business use is not easily discernible. So what do you mean by discernible? Why don't we go into the dictionary meaning? So what is that? What is the spelling? DISCER. DISCENIBLE. Discernible. Able to be discerned, perceptible. Okay, synonymous, detectable or noticeable. So discernible means you will not be able to easily detect the amount of input involved in providing exempt or non-business use, wherein some common goods and services are used for making taxable supplies, including zero rated supplies and exempt supplies, or business and non-business purposes. So what happened is, I purchased a raw material, let us say steel sheet. I am manufacturing one product. This is taxable at 5%. Product 2, this is exempt. What I have done is, I took home some products. The raw material is common, steel sheets only. Here what I am doing, and also I am making exports. I am making exports also. I am exporting, I am providing, I am supplying taxable goods. These two are taxable. Now this is exempt. This is non-business. Now the input tax credit what I have paid is 1 lakh. Now can I take the entire 1 lakh as the input tax credit? No, you can't take it, because here taxable are involved, exports are involved. For this you can take exempt. From this 1 lakh, amount attributable to this is to be excluded. You have used for non-business. From this 1 lakh, credit attributable to the non-business use is to be apportioned. Now is it easy? It is not easy all times. Thereby we have to follow rule number 42. Rule number 42 will give you a procedure by which you will be able to segregate these input credit which is not eligible, attributable to exempt as well as non-business use. How you can do that? T1. So T is the total input for tax period. Tax period means month. From that you reduce T1, T2, T3. What you get is C1. Take it to credit, electronic credit ledger. What is T1? Non-business. What is T2? Exclusively for exempt. This is exclusively for non-business. And what is T3? T3 is blocked credit. Now C1, previously what we got, this we got it as 700. From that you remove the exclusively for taxable. In our example we got 400. Now what is the balance? 300. This is the common credit. This is the common credit. What you need to do? And in our example, what are these? We have some figures there. What we took? What are the items we have taken? 50, 100, 150. 50, 50, 100, 150. This is 1000. So C1 you have to take it to electronic credit ledger. So exclusively for non-business, exclusively for exempt and blocked, you eliminate. 700 take it to electronic credit ledger. But T4 is exclusively taxable. You remove that. This is common to be. Now this has D1, D2 and D3. We will examine. Common credit. T1, T2, T3, T4 will be declared in the registered person at invoice level in GSTR 2, summary level in GSTR 3B. What is T1, T2, T3, T4? T1 exclusively non-business, T2 exempt supplies exclusively, T3 blocked credit, T4 is exclusively for taxable supplies. They have to declare in 2 as well as summary level of 3B. Okay. Now, where ITC on inputs and input services used partly for non-business purpose and exempt supplies can be segregated at invoice level, then added to T1, T2 and the balance will be added to T4. So, partly for non-business purpose and exempt supplies, if they can be credited at the invoice level itself, then wholly for non-business take it to T1, only for exempt take it to T2 and only for taxable bring it to T4. The portion identified as pertaining to taxable supplies in C2 will be allowed as ITC. C2 is nothing but 300. Now this 300 also, from this 300 you have to segregate that portion pertaining to taxable supplies. Okay. We will take an example as to how to arrive at C2. How to arrive at C2. We will take an example. Hawaii slippers are exempted. Take a case of easy footwear manufacturer of two varieties of slippers. One is Hawaii slipper and 5 varieties of sandals and shoes. Okay, Hawaii slipper is exempted. Dyes are used in the manufacture of all footwear. However, bright pink is used only for Hawaii varieties. Bright pink. So bright pink is T2. Bright pink is T2. And black is used only for sandals and shoes. So T4. Right? But yellow and blue are used for all varieties. Yellow and blue and C2 means C2. Yellow and blue is C2. Brown is used for non-business, so it is T1. So what happened? T1 is non-business, segregate. T2 is exempt, wholly exempt, segregate. T4 is wholly taxable, segregate. The input tax on blue dye and yellow dye. Blue and yellow both is C2. Total input tax T is 255. So from 255 what you have to do? You have to reduce T1. T1 is 10,000. You have to reduce T2. T2 is 90,000. Also you have to reduce T3, blocked credit. Here I don't think we have a blocked credit. Since we have no blocked credit, now this is 1,55,000. 1,55,000 is C2. What happened? Sorry. Now 1,50,000, 1,55,000, 1,55,000 is C1. 1 1,55,000 1,55,000 is C1. From this you have to eliminate T4, means wholly for taxable, that is 40,000. Now you got 1,15,000. So 1,15,000 is C2. C2 is to be apportioned. From that you have to eliminate D1 and D2. D2 is non-business. D1 is attributable to exempt, means E divided by F into C2. This is C2 into 5%. Now D1 is equal to E by F into C2. E is equal to aggregate value of exempt supplies and total turnover in the state during the period. If the registered person does not have turnover during the said period, then go to the preceding tax period. Now exempt supplies include reverse charge supplies, transactions in securities. Transactions in securities you have to take 1% of the sale value of the securities. And also for land and building you have to take it as a stamp duty. Right? Now sale of land and building, when the entire consideration is received either after issuance of completion certificate by the competent authority or its first occupation, whichever is earlier. So thus ITC attributable such supplies will be reversed. Okay. So if the entire consideration is received after the completion certificate plus transactions in securities plus reverse charge should also be taken as exempt supplies. And also nil-rated, exempted, non-GST are also exempt supplies. Here apart from that, take reverse charge, transaction in securities, as well as the where consideration is received after completion. Full consideration is received after completion. Exempt supplies will not include Schedule 3 except land and buildings specified in point number 2 above. Now, supply of service by way of accepting deposits, extending loans where the consideration is either discount or interest. Value of such service is included in exempt supply when the same are provided by NBFC or a financial institution including NBFC. Means the exempt supply exclude Schedule 3 item except point 2 above. Supply of service by way of accepting deposits, extending loans where the consideration is interest or discount. Value of such service is included in the exempt supply when the same are provided by banking company or a financial institution including NBFC. Right? If any other person is giving loans, is receiving interest, you have to exclude. But if bank or non-banking financial institution is issuing, then you have to include in the exempt supplies. Transportation of goods by a vessel from the customs station of clearance to a place outside India. Exempt supply should exclude. Okay. So ITC attributable to these three items need not be reversed. ITC attributable to these three items need not be reversed. What are they? transactions activities specified in schedule 3 except land and building 2 if you are giving loans and taking interest, but if you are a banking company, this will include in the exempt supply transportation of goods by vessel from customs station to place outside India. Now, exempt supplies should not include excise duty, state excise, central tax and VAT that we discussed. Okay. Now, on what central excise is levied now? Central excise is on tobacco, petroleum crude, diesel, petrol, ATF, natural gas. State excise is on alcoholic liquor, opium, Indian hemp and narcotics. Now VAT or CST is leviable on interstate sale of petrol, crude, diesel, petrol, ATF, natural gas, alcoholic liquor. Now petrol, crude, diesel, petrol, ATF, petroleum crude, diesel, petrol, ATF, natural gas are not taxable under GST and alcoholic liquor is outside the ambit of GST. So non-GST supplies is alcoholic liquor and non-taxable items are these 5 items of petroleum crude, diesel, petrol, ATF including natural gas. Now, the supply of these products being non-taxable under GST will be exempt supplies as per section 2 subsection 47 and the taxes and duties leviable thereon will be excluded from the value thereof for the purpose of apportionment of credit. Now how to apportion this 1,15,000 common credit which we have obtained in this example. Here we got 1,15,000. How we have to apportion this is the next question. Now, turnover of Hawaii 1 plus Hawaii 2 is 3 crores. This is exempted. Turnover of all other varieties is 2 crores. Therefore, the total turnover F is equal to 5, E is equal to 3 and C2 is equal to 115. C2 is equal to 115. So what is the formula for our apportion? D1 is equal to E by F into C2. D1 is equal to E by F into C2. So that is 3 by 5 into 1,15,000. So 69,000 is pertaining to exempt supply and it is D1. Now what is D2? D2 is equal to 5% of C2. So 5% of 1,15,000. So what is 5% of 1,15,000? 5,750. 5,750. So 115 minus 69,000 minus 5,750. Now this amount can be taken as input credit and this is attributable to supply of taxable output. Now C3 eligible credit is equal to C2 minus D1 minus D2. Now the resultant is C3. Now what has to be reversed? D1 and D2 is to be reversed because previously you have taken 115 as common credit as input. Now we have to reverse 69,000 and 5,750. Okay. What you have to do? C3 is to be computed separately for CGST, SGST, UTGST, ITGST. Now thereafter, what you have to do, D1 plus D2, the total amount what you have taken for all the tax periods, and again what you have to do, you have to take the yearly D1 plus D2 total, yearly D1 plus D2 you determine, less all tax periods D1 plus D2. If you are getting plus, reverse again. You are getting minus, take back, take back. This when you have to do, if this happens to be 1920, September 2020 return is the last date by which you have to do. But you have to pay interest from 1st April 2020 to date of payment or reversal. Okay. So friends, this is rule number 42, section number 17. Now in the next session we will learn rule number 43, that is apportionment of credit for capital goods. Okay friends, this will be a little bit confusion, but what I have tried to do is, at the time of learning rule 42 as well as in analysis, so I thought that we have repeated this provision for 2 or 3 times by this time. So what I suggest or advise you, you also practice this a bit more, because it is a bit confusing, but once when you are into that track, it will be very easy for you. See you next time.